Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. Two teams emerge as clear favorites for Kyle Lowry trade. The Toronto Raptors are 10-13 on the year and clearly won't be a player in the Eastern Conference title race this season. Things went bad for the organization as soon as they alienated Serge Ibaka with their handling of Marc Gasol, and it has all been downhill since. As such, the franchise has started looking towards the future. Kyle Lowry signed a one-year, $30 million contract with Toronto last year and is set to become an unrestricted free agent once it expires. As such, it would make sense for the organization to try to get what they can for him now while his trade value is still reasonably high. According to Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report, there is a portion of Raptors personnel that believe the franchise should bid his beloved all-star farewell and begin Toronto's next chapter in earnest. Rival teams see the writing on the wall as well. There's a time capsule for everybody and everything, said one Western Conference executive to Fisher, and it's probably just time to move on. Assuming the Raptors do decide to move Lowry at some point in the foreseeable future, where would he go? Currently, there appear to be two viable options. The likeliest landing spot for the 34-year-old seems to be Miami. Lowry's age and the length of his contract may limit his most likely suitors to championship contenders, Fisher noted. And while they've been mired in their own slow start, the Heat still hold title aspirations and have long shown interest in Lowry. He's a very Miami-type player, another Eastern team official said, gritty, tough. Miami isn't the only team in the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes, though the Los Angeles Clippers also remain a realistic contender for his services. The Clippers might have a cleaner path to landing Lowry. Fisher wrote, I think Toronto would want to send him west. One Eastern team official said, but Masai is going to do a deal that brings back the best package. The Clippers might be able to provide both. Los Angeles has made it widely known that Lou Williams is available, sources said, and there's a cohort in that front office ready to move on from Patrick Beverley as well. Although the Clippers have been more in the market for a mid-tier guard than someone like Lowry, sources said, adding someone of Lowry's caliber, however, would boost LA's best punch against the West's other heavyweights. Lowry has also previously been linked to a potential deal involving the Los Angeles Lakers, though it remains unclear how feasible of an option that is. Lowry is currently averaging 18 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game while shooting 42% from the field and nearly 37% from beyond the arc. Whatever squad ultimately gets him, whether it ends up being the Heat, Clippers, or somebody else, will suddenly get a lot better very quickly. Now, Kyle Lowry basically has not really been having a good season. You basically can say he's packed it in. He's packed it in. He got his championship. So there's really nothing more for him really to prove. So basically, what he's doing is playing himself basically to be picked up by somebody who's ready to win now. Now, Miami would be a good place for him to go because they do need a point guard, especially a backup one. And his veteran, he's also a leader, very vocal. He's a vet, so he would help those young guys on the team get better fast, just like he did in Toronto. Now, if he go to the Clippers, if they get rid of Lou Williams and Beverly for Lowry, then the Clippers are in trouble. You don't get rid of Beverly. But I think because of what happened last year, I don't think the organization likes Beverly or Lou Williams. And I said this after the season, after the bubble. I said I would move on from Lou Williams because he went to the strip club after he said that he was going to a family event. Somebody passed away, I believe, in his family, and he's at the strip club. I said after that I would have got rid of him. But I would have told him to stay at home. He played like crap, and he's been playing like crap this year. But I could see him going to Toronto for Lowry, and then what they would do is they would opt him out of his contract, and I believe he'll go to the Lakers. So I would look out for that to happen. I'm not saying I heard anybody say that, but that seems like the logical thing. But Lou Williams to me just checked out. Um, Pat Bev, I would not get rid of Pat Bev. I'm sorry. I would not get rid of Pat Bev. Pat Bev is a defensive monster. This guy can lock you down. He gets in your head. He's a pest. You don't get rid of him. And I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, probably because of what happened in the bubble, and then, Beverly and them getting upset about Paul George because the team wants to go with Paul George. They sided with Paul George. So that's why Trez isn't there no more. Because Trez was too much acting like a little bitch instead of just going to play. He worried about who getting special privileges, and then he took a pay cut with his dumb ass. Now, if they could trade Lou for Kyle Lowry, I would take that trade because Kyle could play defense. He's a pest, and he can hit threes. He's not clutch as Lou, but if Kyle gets hot, which he'll be the third or fourth option, or he could be the number 2 option. Kyle will be good at the number 2. He's not a number 1, but he could be a good number 2. Seriously, and he can handle the ball. He could play in half court offense, and he could run a little bit. So I would get him right now. If I had a chance to do it, because Lou, I just think they would be better. Much better with him. But you don't get rid of Beverly. You keep Beverly. Now, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, because that's what I'm seeing in this other article is that even though Beverly's under contract through next season, they're willing to move on from him as well. I mean, I just think that's a bad idea, man. I would not get rid of Beverly. Now, Lou Williams can go. I mean, if you could bring in Kyle Lowry, that'll be great, but I would not get rid of Beverly. I'm sorry. Now, let's see. I have some other news that's going on. Oh, man. Okay, here it is. There's 4 landing spots for cornerback Patrick Peterson. We might see Patrick Peterson in a uniform other than Cardinal Red in 2021. The former number 5 overall pick is an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and the latest report suggests Arizona will not be looking to retain his services. A few years ago, this would have been very exciting news, and most of the league's teams would be very interested in adding his skill set. Nowadays, not so much. Peterson, at 31 years old, is no longer the athletic marvel that led to his top 5 selection in the 2011 NFL Draft, and he was never the most technical cornerback in the NFL. Nonetheless, Peterson has a big name, and even if he isn't the number 1 corner anymore, can bring reinforcements to teams in dire need of secondary help. Here are 4 potential landing spots for the former All-Pro cornerback who still has something left in the tank. The San Francisco 49ers. The Niners know better than most teams what Peterson can offer. After playing him twice a year every season of his career, if they decide he's worth the deal, they should be first in line to chat with Peterson's agent about acquiring his services. San Francisco's 2020 season was derailed from week 1 thanks to a rash of injuries to important players. But the team's secondary was actually a bright spot, and the Niners gave up the 4th fewest pass yards per game in the NFL. Unfortunately, 9 of the players who made up that secondary are free agents this offseason. GM John Lynch will likely bring at least 3 or 4 of those players back, but bringing in Peterson as additional depth would be an excellent idea. Peterson could feast on the back end as a ball hawk, waiting to capitalize on mistakes made by the opposing quarterback by virtue of San Fran's dominant pass rush. Cornerbacks on a team with as good a front 4 as the Niners have don't need to be shut down players. They just need to be good enough and in the right position when a bad throw comes their way. Peterson can still do that much, and the Niners will need some reinforcements. The Chiefs will be the favorite destination for every veteran. Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs will be the favorite destination for every veteran turned ring chaser free agent for the foreseeable future. The team that has Patrick Mahomes has a better chance than anybody to appear on Super Bowl Sunday year to year. Peterson has played in all of 2 postseason games over his 9-year career. He is probably ready to play some serious postseason football, and no team offers a guaranteed opportunity like Kansas City. On the flip side, KC should be welcoming any free agents with Peterson's mindset with open arms. They can always use more help defensively, and cornerback is the weakest position in the group of the unit, even with rookie L'Jarius Sneed blowing away expectations in his first season. Tyrann Mathieu would probably be happy to be reunited with his former Arizona teammate after he's done tweeting about Tom Brady. If Peterson doesn't mind signing for cheap, this is an easy call for both sides. The Indianapolis Colts. Indy would be a balanced destination for Peterson. The Colts still need to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback, but assuming they enter 2021 with a player of equal production level as Phillip Rivers was in 2020, they are a playoff team. Peterson wouldn't be tasked with doing too much if he joined this extremely talented defense. He would have a good shot at playing football, and perhaps most importantly, the Colts can afford to give Peterson a hefty contract to outbid other teams if it comes down to it. Indianapolis doesn't need Peterson, and GM Chris Ballard isn't going to leap at the opportunity to overpay for an aging cornerback. But if a few extra million makes the difference, Peterson is quality depth for an already good defense, and Indianapolis has a team worthy of a playoff contention right now. The Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys desperately need help on defense. They will take it in whatever form they can find. If Peterson feels the allure of playing for America's team, Dallas will love to have him. They have some cap space to work with and are set up to playoff contenders in 2021 with the return of Dak Prescott. This is a natural match, but Dallas' ability to offer a reasonable sum for Peterson's services is heavily dependent on what happens with Prescott's contract negotiations. The Cowboys currently are projected to have $27 million in cap space this offseason, but a franchise tag for Prescott would mean a $37 million cap hit this season. If they can't reach a long-term deal with Prescott, their financial flexibility will be all but eliminated. Should they even have just a bit of money left over after it's all said and done, Peterson makes for a good fit. Now, Patrick Peterson to me has been a good cornerback. You know, he was great early in his career, but Peterson at times got burnt a lot, and he relied on his athleticism too much instead of guarding the guys fundamentally sound. That was the difference between him and Deion. You know, he had speed, but, you know, he wasn't fundamentally sound as Deion. Deion was athletic, but Deion had technique. And he practiced his technique, and he watches film. He was a film junkie. And that's what a lot of these guys aren't today. They need to go look at the film more. A la Patrick Mahomes after he showed he can't read a front seven. or a defense. Now, to me, the best fit for Patrick Peterson to go to would be from those four. I would go to the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's why. The Chiefs would be very great at him and Matthew could really dominate. And Breeland, you could kick Breeland to the curb and get another corner. You could move Breeland to the 3. Pat could take the best receivers to the best guys, and he also could travel with guys. And you can also put him at the nickel and the dime backer in certain packages. Sub packages is what we call them. He's also a good tackler, not the greatest, but he can tackle. He's very good at covering the receivers where the quarterback's trying to throw to the back shoulder. He's good at cutting the slant off. Sometimes he gambles too much, which gives away a big play. And he did that a lot this year and last year and the year before last, getting burnt a lot. He slowed down a little bit, but he would be reinvigorated. You could sometimes put him as a safety. Him and Matthew could cover the back end very well, and they'll be able to do some blitzes. They'll be able to come up and make some plays. You know, if he slowed down a little bit to be a corner, I would move him to a safety. But Kansas City would be the best team for me for him. The Niners don't need him. Their corners are set. The Colts need a quarterback. There's nothing wrong with their defense. Their defense is legit. And Dallas, hell no. Because Jerry Jones going to find a way to F it up. So he needs to go to Kansas City. This will give Kansas City a chance to give a leg up. And they'll be able to still keep their dominance and stranglehold on the AFC West. Because Patrick Peterson is a changer. He could lock down guys. He could guard slot receivers. He's very good against the quick receivers as well as the big receivers, but at times he will get burnt because he'll underestimate somebody, or I guess he'll be bored. But he got burnt on some plays where it was questionable, like how you got burnt on that. But to me, I would go to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs also need to get some extra linebackers, and they need some they need some D linemen. They also need to add to their offensive line. They're good at weapons. Running back, I would go get another running back so you can help Williams and Hilaire carry the load. Le'Veon Bell, to me, he's always been soft to me. So I would get another dog like Hilaire is and run it. And you got the receivers, so I would do that. But yeah. That'll be a good pick for him to go to. I would love to see him in Kansas City. That'll be the best fit for him to me. Kansas City ought to go get him because they could get him for cheap, and they need a secondary bad after they got toasted in the Super Bowl. All right, now. Okay, Ravens defender makes brash claim about Lamar Jackson. The Baltimore Ravens have one of the NFL's best quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson, but how does he rate against the rest of the league? Opinions are never short on such matters, especially from within the Ravens locker room. While many see Jackson as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, some on his own team maintain that Jackson is the most talented player that they've ever suited up with, even when some true greats of the game are considered. That's the case for defensive lineman Calais Campbell. Recently, Campbell went on to speak for yourself and proclaim Jackson to be the most talented teammate he's ever suited up with during his time in the NFL. And Ravens Calais Campbell, who's played with Larry Fitzgerald, Jalen Ramsey, and Patrick Peterson, speaks for yourself that Lamar Jackson is hands down the most talented teammate he played for. He basically says for the most talent is hands down Lamar Jackson. Jalen Ramsey was super talented. Patrick Peterson, super talented. So guys I played with that were super, super talented, but when it comes to just overall talent in one body of work is Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Ramsey and Peterson are amongst the best of the best, but neither play quarterback. That spot is where most elite players do reside. So it's not a shock to hear Campbell give the love to Jackson for his play, considering that fact. Um, it's tough to debate Campbell on his take of Jackson being one of the best players in the league, given how well he has started his career. Even though Jackson has never played in the Super Bowl and has only a single playoff win to his credit, that does nothing to diminish the talent he shows every single week on the football field routinely. He's a big play waiting to happen. And much like other elite players in the past, such as Barry Sanders, one big play from Jackson can change the entire complexion of the game. To this end, Campbell is right to proclaim Jackson the most talented teammate he's ever had. This past season, Jackson had more struggles than successes at times statistically, but even in spite of that, he managed to have a solid season this year. Jackson himself had only 2,757 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 1,005 rushing yards, and 7 touchdowns. Those numbers might be lower than what they were in his NFL MVP season, but it's long been clear that the stats are only half of what Jackson brings to the table. He is still the unquestioned heart and soul of the entire team, which is why DaCosta is smart to want to wrap him up. Since being drafted out of Louisville, Jackson has begun to rewrite the book in the league in terms of what a quarterback is and can be with his ability to run and extend the play. The fact that he was a shoo-in as an all-pro is a testament to how good Jackson was in 2019. The fact he won MVP last season was also simply a testament to that as well. There's no question he could still challenge for those awards moving forward. If Jackson could keep playing this well, he is only going to climb on such lists moving forward and continue to remain a darling in the league. Clearly, Campbell likes what he's seen from the young quarterback since joining the team in a big way. Now, I'm basically calling out Shannon No Sharp, who still hasn't kept the same energy he had for Patty Mahomes or Josh Allen. Yeah, he gave an F letter grade to them in their performances, but the way he came down on Lamar Jackson to me was very hypocritical, was very telling that you're not giving him any passes, but you give everybody else a pass. Aaron Rodgers, you gave a pass to, and clearly Aaron Rodgers choked that game away. You gave Pat Mahomes a pass because you saying, oh, well, the coaches didn't have him prepared and all that and stuff, but he also played bad. I give him an F. But you weren't as hard on Patty Mahomes like you were Lamar Jackson. Why is that? Because it's the agenda. You guys want the half-breed to be this face of the league, and when Tom Brady whooped his ass yesterday, now you guys trying to backtrack. Y'all coming up with excuses. Andy Reid's son killing a family, that could have had something to do with him. But Lamar Jackson, he's a running back. He cannot throw. It's like, damn, I mean, the dude is throwing over 60-some% completing of his passes. And the dude is he threw over 2,000 yards and added 1,000 to it and threw 26 touchdowns. That's damn good. Now, does he have to work on his game? Yeah. He has to work on throwing outside the pocket. Outside numbers. And learning how to stay a little more patient in the pocket. I think he ought to go train with Tom Brady and go talk to some other quarterbacks like Drew Brees and them and get some pointers. But for you to come down on Lamar like you did showed me you being a horse mouth bass ass face ass boy. And how you did it was you basically following the agenda, which is to tear him down so we don't get any more brothers at quarterback. Lamar Jackson he won a playoff game. He got the monkey off his back. But I didn't see you guys criticizing Peyton Manning like this until later in his career. You guys would say, well, Peyton need this, he need that. I didn't see you guys criticizing. I didn't even see you guys criticizing Big Ben like that. Y'all don't even criticize Aaron Rodgers, but you'll criticize Tom Brady, who has 7 rings now, but you won't criticize Karen Rodgers. But you'll blast Lamar Jackson. Well, the offensive coaches, we need to stop trying to fire these offensive coaches. And these coaches, when the player going to take accountability? Well, why didn't you say that about all the other coaches? Why didn't you say that about Aaron Rodgers? Why didn't he take accountability? Why is he throwing his team under the bus like he usually does? Your favorite guy, GOAT James, why does he do it? Why does he throw his teammates under the bus instead of just owning up on his bullshit? You see the hypocrisy, the hating? I root for Pat Mahomes. I root for Tom Brady because these two men are hated and they've done something we haven't seen before. Tom Brady with going to the Super Bowl, winning as many Super Bowls as he did, and Lamar Jackson being hated for he's continuing to transition the quarterback position. He could revolutionize it. I just feel Lamar got to learn how to calm down in pressure situations. He has to learn how to throw outside the pocket. But is he a top 5 quarterback? I say about a top 5, 6, maybe 7. But if you look at his winning percentage, he's had the best winning percentage since he's entered the league. The guy wins, and that's all that matters. He just has to learn to elevate his game some more, and I give him time. This is going to be his 4th season. This year is going to be a make or break for Lamar to see what he does, which direction he goes in. I believe Lamar is going to be fine. I believe he's going to learn his lessons. He got humbled, just like Patty Mahomes got humbled. And both him and Patty Mahomes are going to come back lethal next year. Now, Shannon O'Sharp, you don't never keep the same energy when it comes to any of these other people. But Lamar Jackson, you basically put a nail in his coffin, basically saying he's done. When you give all these other white quarterbacks love. Josh Allen has a number 1 receiver, but you're praising him. But we saw what happened when the Chiefs took away his number 1 receiver. What did he do? He looked like shit because guess what? He can't throw outside the numbers as well either, but I didn't see you saying anything about that. But if it's Lamar Jackson, we got to tear Lamar Jackson down, right? Yep, that's how it is. And shout out to Calais Campbell for being there for his guy, man. Now, also, Boston Celtics are preparing to make 2 big trades. The Boston Celtics are 12-10 and currently sit in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. Given that only 4 games separate them from the number 1 seeded team, the Philadelphia 76ers, it would make sense for Danny Ainge to launch an all-out blitz in pursuit of upgrading the roster. As it turns out, that is precisely what he is looking to do. According to Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, the Celtics are up to something at the moment. Late Saturday evening, I received a flurry of texts from multiple executives around the league who said the Celtics were up to something, he wrote. What they're up to is unclear, but league sources have long said Boston is searching for upgrades to bolster its wing and big man position. Upgrades at the wing and presumably, the power forward slot. They couldn't possibly be trying to dump Tristan Thompson already, right? Yes, they need to dump him right now. Would suggest 2 trades on the horizon. What makes this report from O'Connor interesting is that it all aligns well with one from last week suggesting something similar. On Friday, it came out that Boston would potentially consider using the $28.5 million TPE acquired in the Gordon Hayward trade on one of three players. It also fits with what Ainge said during a recent appearance on 98.5 The Sport Hub's Toucher and Rich show. I would say maybe shooting with size, he said when asked what Boston was looking to add. There's a lot of different ways you can win in this league. We could use shooting, we could use passing, but you always need defense, and our team is built on defense. We've been winning with defense the last few years. I know we haven't won a championship, but we need defense. Ainge went to reiterate that defense was a necessary component in all of this. It's hard to find a shooter that can't guard anybody and expect that person to come in and make a major change on our team, he said. We're looking for complete players, but I think that shooting at the big position is something we haven't had. The Celtics obviously have a big Hayward-shaped hole on the roster that needs to be filled. But given how injured he was for much of his run with the team, it's hard to blame that for the mediocre play that has been on display thus far. A wing would help, as would a competent four, but what Boston really needs is to simply gel better. Currently, this group is less than the sum of its parts, and it's apparent every time they take the floor. A few weeks back, the Celtics were rumored to be one of three legitimate suitors out there for a potential J.J. Redick deal, but thus far, nothing has materialized on that front. Boston still has plenty of time to right the ship, even without making any moves. But if there are two good trades out there for the organization, they should be seriously considered. The top of the East is looking pretty tough this year, and the Celtics would be best served being overprepared versus underprepared heading into the postseason. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that the Celtics are going to make some moves? Look, I don't like the Celtics. I've always hated the Celtics, and I can't stand them. And I damn sure can't stand that coach. I can't even think of his name. Brad Stevens. I cannot stand him. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in history for what they've said he could do and what he is. But to me, it's like this. You should have never got Tristan Thompson. All right, Tristan's a bum. So if you can move him right now, move him. You need a big man. You've been saying this for 3 years. You guys are missing a big guy in the middle who could compete with the Embiid, a Joker, a Aiden, or anybody. Then you need a wing, you said. I really don't see you needing a wing. Your wing isn't the problem. You got a good wing. Your problem is you don't have anybody in the post. Tice is a power forward. Williams is a power forward. Tristan Thompson is masquerading as a center. He's really a power forward. So the Celtics need that, to me, get a big man. See if they can get rid of Tristan Kardashian. And then go from there. You're not that far off, and it's still early in the season. And then you guys have got to figure out how to close the game. You guys have the most trouble closing the damn game. Y'all cannot close the game to save y'all life at times. Now, I didn't see y'all against the Warriors. I saw a little bit of the Warriors game at the end. You guys were struggling. But the thing I do like what Boston has done, they stopped shooting all them damn threes a lot. I saw Marcus Smart. I saw Jaylen Brown. I saw the other players on the team get into the inside, get into certain spots. Which was interesting. So, to me, the Celtics need that, and they'll be all right. But the way they're constructed now, I don't think they'll make it out the semifinals. Depending on where they're seated, if they're pinned against a bunch of weak teams, then yeah, they'll take those games. But the thing is that people forget. You should have been got a big man. If you get the big man, you guys will be all right. The big guy will do what it takes to win, and not only that, the guy will do whatever it takes to help himself out. Now, Brad Stevens on the hot seat, I feel like. Probably not from them, but for me, he is. Also, the running game, keep doing it. It's helping out a lot. So, not the running game, I'm tripping. I'm talking football now. Kemba Walker is still getting off of his injury, so we got to give him some time. But Boston, to me, Boston look average. They always look average. Tatum has to make his mind up. Do you want to be the number one, or are you going to flame out? You got to find another gear, dog. Your gear is very low right now. And you're having tough times closing. We need you to close. Now, albeit you were out due to COVID, you finally came back. You looked decent, but it's going to take time. But I need you to get to that point. I need you to get better. Need you to. So, thank you for listening, man. Like, comment, subscribe, share this. Hit the notification bell to select all to receive upcoming notifications. And if you would like to donate to the page, you can cash at me at the word welcome, the number 2, and then HDiiTV. Thank you for listening, and we're out. HDeezy.